What up, yo? It's Carson with Solutions 8, and I want to talk to you about Google's recent announcement. Google just announced late last week that they're opening up Buy on Google. So Buy on Google, if you're not familiar with it, is the system that Google uses to allow people to purchase directly from the search ads. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. It's interesting because when it first rolled out, I just remember thinking like, gosh, there's no way that this flies. And it shows just how wrong I am, because not only is it working, it's working really well. The integration capabilities are robust. And a lot of retailers are taking advantage of it. And what we're seeing is the retailers that take advantage of it, they're doing better in the search ads by a margin. There's a trade-off, though. But here's what's really interesting is Google decided to open it up and to make it commission-free, which I think it's so brilliant. It's a direct swipe at Amazon. And I'm not even veiled that way. So I'm not saying that like I'm, telling you something you don't already know, but here's Google's attempt at capturing some of the e-commerce market back from Amazon. And I just want to go over, I'm going to link to this document here in the description of my video, but I want to go over a couple of things that they say. So zero commissions. So Google's basically gotten out of the merchant processor's way almost entirely. They're not taking a percentage fee at all, which is really significant. Now, Google historically has done a really good job at sacrificing profits for user experience. If you look at the way that Google's search is structured, if you are relevant and Google expects the prospect to have a good on-page experience, you'll actually pay less and you'll rank higher. And that's why Google is the world's foremost authority as a search engine. This is what they did better than everybody else. Everybody else did the pay-to-play game. And Google decided that they're going to prioritize performance in a really, really big way. And that prioritization tends to be pretty staggering. If you look at how much money they leave on the table, it's significant, but it's trained all of us to trust their ads. So you and I trust Google because they do things like this. So here they are waiving all commissions. And what's really interesting about that is it's going to attract a lot of retailers because, especially if you're doing volume and you're dealing with low margins, that can be a really significant, improvement to your bottom line. So this to me is a really strong signal that Google is investing heavily in this process and product. They're also allowing third-party providers. That's not surprising. Now that they're waiving commissions, you can't do one without the other. So this allows them to kind of get close to the source, just as far as the processing is concerned. The providers that they chose, no surprise there, PayPal and Shopify, the two behemoths. But I'm going to be really interested to see who the ancillary providers are, and then what systems, kind of what avenue Google makes available for some of those ancillary providers to include themselves, because that's going to be the first indication of how deep Google plans on going with the entire management of this commerce process. They're already dealing with customer service and returns, which is really interesting. Like they're going much further than just the advertising mechanism. Again, this is them going straight at Amazon. So the way that you deal with Amazon, not with the merchant, in not to quite the same degree, but in the same way. Using this program that they've launched, you're dealing with Google for customer service in some instances, and you'll read through the fine print kind of where they begin and you end as the merchant. But when they start adding additional third-party providers, the requirements they make from an integration perspective are going to give us a signal as to where they plan on going. And those signals will come in the form of the information that they want. You already see it as a merchant when you go to sign up, they make you basically write them a business plan as far as, what steps you take and your shipping and return policy and privacy policy and those things. So this is a deeper dive into that. And I'll be really interested to see the way that they open that up. This is the best part about this whole thing is and it's so casual too, the way that they've dropped this. I just think it's brilliant. I almost didn't catch it, but they said, you can import your inventory. And what was interesting to me about that was it was such a no-brainer. It's like, well, yeah, I can already import my inventory. There's nothing new here. And so, but then they added this, we're enabling commonly used product feed formats. And I was like, all right, well, I might as well be thorough and then, take a look and see what this means or says. And this is the best part. Amazon feed compatibility, excuse me. So they're letting you import your Amazon feed in case you want to sell the products that you have on Amazon on Google. Now, I don't know quite how that's going to work from like an inventory management perspective, because there's no way that those two are going to play nicely together long term. I think we're going to see a lot of the back and forth that you see with Facebook and Google right now. Like Facebook actively strips tracking codes especially if you're in Facebook's mobile browser. And they'll say things like, in the very beginning they denied it, and then they started saying things like, we're working to improve user experience, so we'll strip off ancillary codes or whatever. But really what I think is happening is they're trying to stop you from being able to reconcile data. I would anticipate Amazon making this hard on Google. And that'll be fun to sort of see the pissing match that's going to take place. I just think that this is really, it's an intelligent approach. I don't know that Amazon's really a logistics company at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. And so I don't think Google, and I could be wrong. God, what happens if we see Google get into the fulfillment game? But more important than that, what you're going to see, and let's just take a look at this. So here's the Google Shopping and the Buy on Google breakdown and details. And this is for the consumer. So it shows you sort of how this works, but they have this checkout on Google icon. But then you have things like buy with confidence. So they have, a pretty robust support offering, the ability to arrange returns. And I think that it just shows how deep Google's willing to dive. And then you can see the Google guarantee here, the way that they're breaking down. And what's really interesting about the Google guarantee that I thought stood out to me was it's actually $25 per order, which is, that's a high dollar amount for the e-com game. We're not playing with professional services here. We're just selling stuff online. So here's an example, though, of what the Buy on Google system looks like. So I search for cell phone cases, and then I'm going to go into the shopping, and immediately you can see how they're kind of prioritizing this. And Google, what you'll notice is they do really subtle things with icons and color. And as a matter of fact, anytime you're looking at the search, if you remember the way the old school search used to work, is they had the word ad was in green, and I think they've even changed that now. But whenever you see Google play with icons and color, that's when you know it's something they're working to prioritize, because they don't do it often. They're really good at subtlety, as evidenced by everything that they do. Here's the only all color icon accessible to you, and when I filter by the Buy on Google, it changes the entire landscape. As you can see, none of the products that we were looking at earlier are shown. So I'm just going to click on one at random, and here's the product. And what's really interesting is, and this has always been this way, but inside of Google Shopping, this is a really self-contained user experience. And talking about taking a swipe directly at Amazon, they're doing a darn good job at aggregating this data, taking the views off your site and bringing it into Google Shopping. So now Google Shopping is, it's more or less analogous to the Amazon search feed in certain ways. Now, this is a detriment to the retailer. And I know everybody already knows this. We've all talked about, stolen clicks, and that's true for SEO and PPC. But what's interesting here is you, the person selling the cell phone case, and I'm using cell phone cases, by the way, because I hate them, because we get every month at least a handful of leads from some Yahoo who just took an affiliate marketing course and now wants to sell cell phone cases online. There's no margin in this business. I don't know how people expect to make any money. But you, the retailer who are selling cell phone cases, you didn't get this click to your site. So generally speaking, if somebody was looking at a product at this level of detail, they would be on your site, they would be looking at your images, they'd be reading your description, and you would be able to track them. Inside of analytics, you'd be able to see the session. If you're using like a Lucky Orange or a Hotjar or a True Conversion, you'd be able to pixel them if they're on Facebook, and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of stuff that you would be able to do because they were on your site. They are no longer on your site, and that in some ways is cool for you because it's going to improve the efficacy of the conversion rate for smaller dollar items, is my expectation. So you probably are going to be able to sell more, because Google's user experience is probably going to be a little bit better than your user experience, especially given the continuity that they're able to maintain throughout the checkout experience. However, your ability to do robust remarketing campaigns, make user-driven adjustments, based off of their browsing. If you've done any on-site customization, some of the more advanced e-commerce features where you can customize what it is that somebody's seeing based off of what they've done, that's all gone. So you're losing a ton of brand equity. And, it's just another example of Google stealing clicks. It's the exact same paradigm as the snippets that they display in search. They're taking content from somebody's site and delivering it without somebody ever having to go to that site. So you become less relevant, which can't be understated, because the further they reach, the more that will be true. However, you're still more relevant here than you would be on Amazon. On Amazon, you have zero brand equity capability for click-through. I mean, brands aren't exposed really much at all. So it's a balance of risks. But anyway, continuing with the discussion, let's say that I actually wanted to buy. I'm going to say add to cart, and I've already got something in my cart because I was playing with this earlier. So we'll go to let's go to the cart real quick, just out of curiosity, what happens, because I have two products from two different retailers, and I'm actually not sure, honestly, how Google's going to reconcile that process, although I'm sure it's entirely back end. But we have our product total, estimated taxes and fees, and I'm going to continue to check out. It also notices that I'm covered by Google Guarantee, which I think is it's going to be really interesting, again, how deep Google chooses to dive. Now, we've got my ship to, and this is, again, really interesting. This is all going to be preloaded for people that are deep inside of the Google ecosystem, which is a significant base of users. So they already have my address. They already have my credit card number. And just as a note, I didn't enter either of those two things for this exercise. Google has had those by virtue of the fact that I've engaged with them in other forms of commerce. And yet I've, at least not recently, purchased anything directly from Google Shopping. I don't think I've ever used the buy on Google feature. So all of this is preloaded. I've got these two different products. It's giving me expected ship dates. This is one detriment that Google's going to have, is they're never going to be able to fulfill as quickly or efficiently as Amazon. And I'm not quite sure how they're going to approach that. It'll be interesting to see that too, but I've underestimated them in the past. So email preferences, I can sign up for the newsletter. Now this is really cool. I didn't even realize that they made this available, but it looks like for either of these two retailers, I can get on their list. So that's great for the retailer. And I'd say kudos and props to Google on that one. Because, they could be playing the Amazon game here where they're just controlling the communication entirely, but it looks like they're being a little bit friendlier to the retailer, which is going to, I would anticipate at least, going to benefit them. The promo code piece, again, is going to be interesting because it's on a per retailer basis, I imagine. And yet I have two retailers here. So, how effective this ends up being from a marketing perspective is yet to be seen. It depends on how much shopping people are doing inside of this in this system. And then I also wonder too, if you're doing cross-channel marketing and you have specific promo codes, that's going to be a tough thing to play with. I know a lot of people like to use branded codes just because, they're easier to use, have a little bit more in the way of click-through and retention. That's probably, my guess would be, not going to necessarily play nicely here, but we'll see. I haven't played with it. I'm not going to place an order because I don't want either of these cases. I don't even know what kind of phone they're for. But again, I just wanted to go back to what it is that Google's doing and how they're doing it. I think it's amazingly ambitious and something that only a $1 trillion brand like them could pull off. And I actually think that they stand a pretty solid chance at stealing some traffic from Amazon. They don't have Prime. So Amazon, Jeff Bezos, just being the smartest human being in the whole wide world, his whole pay me to pay me thing, where we're all paying Jeff money so that we can subsequently pay him money. Google lacks so far that sort of cohesive element. But again, and I'm not saying that they're going to do this, there's no indication that they will, but if they were to roll something like that out, especially if there's a way to sort of bring retailers into the fold, it would be one more step towards Google's very strong attempt here at stealing some of Amazon's market share. I'd be really interested in what your thoughts are about this. If you're using Buy on Google as a consumer or merchant, if you plan on doing it, I'd be really interested in talking to people about that too. I think from a paid ad perspective, this is going to do nothing but improve your campaigns. So, we run Google ads. If this is the first time watching my video, we run Google ads. That's why I'm annoying and I even talk to people, because I'm trying to just drum up business and generate leads. And from a PPC perspective, I think that, you've got a cohesive user experience. And then with the, little sound bites like the Google guarantee, I think you could see some pretty significant upticks in conversion rates. But I can also tell you things like remarketing. I don't know quite how friendly Google's going to be there. How much data are they going to offer us? I think that is yet to be seen. And, that might already be clear. I haven't really done a deep dive into the buy on Google. So, maybe that data is already accessible. Maybe remarketing inside of the shopping ecosystem is there, and I just need to go to school on it a little bit more. But if not, then, it's worth noting that there's a gap now between the information that you used to have and the information you will have now. So anyway, if you have any questions, hit me in the comments. If you disagree with anything that I said, please let me know. And yeah, don't forget to like, give me a little thumbs up, boost my ego, subscribe. I'm shooting one of these videos every single day. My business partner's doing the same thing. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care.